Hey guys, subscribe for daily knife content. And if you're shopping for knives and gear, make sure you check out the description of the video you're watching right now for links to some great online retailers. There's also individual links for knives that I personally recommend. Thanks! What's going on YouTube? Metal Complex here, and today I've got another interesting knife review slash overview to share with you guys. This is a variant of knife that I have already reviewed before. This is the Kizer Begleiter, except it's in jade and M390 for $100. If you are familiar with M390, you'll know that that is kind of amazing. That's a great deal. I'm going to be linking these knives, well, the Kizer Begleiter and M390, right down in the description so that you can check these out if you want to, as well as Kizer knives in general. So thank you to the people who sent these. This was kind of a happy mistake. A blunder on my part. I couldn't remember if I had one coming or not, and I had Mr. Abby_normal_1969 send me a brand new one, and then I had another gentleman whose name is Andrew send me his user, which is why they look a little bit different. We're going to talk about that here in a sec, but it's cool actually. I can give you guys an example of a brand new one and one that's been used, but these are pretty exciting. If you want to check out my original Kizer Begleiter, I'm going to leave that in there. I'm not going to cut that out. My original Kizer Begleiter review, you certainly can. Just type in Metal Complex and Kizer Begleiter. But my opinions are largely the same. We're still going to talk about what's great about these here. Thanks so much to my generous patrons who are supporting me right now. You can find a link for my Patreon right down in the description. And please make sure to follow me on Instagram at metal_complex. We're going to do some quick specs here real quick. I'm going to move this guy off. We'll bring it back here in a second. Overall length of the Kizer Begleiter is coming in at about 8 inches, maybe 8.1 inches. Blade length is coming in at 3.5 inches, and cutting edge is coming in at about 3.4 or so. Size comparisons up against the Ontario Rat Model 1 and its little brother, the Ontario Rat Model 2. So you can see there, it's kind of in between. This is kind of a long, slender knife. How about up against the Spyderco PM2 and Spyderco Para 3? Definitely in between again. And last but not least, the Benchmade Griptilian, or in this case, the Ritter Hogue, and the Benchmade Mini Griptilian. Kizer Begleiter, about the same size overall as the Ritter Hogue. It's just not quite as tall. Let's go ahead and do carry profile real quick. So up against, it's been so long since I did the review, I've realized that it was my old review style. So I probably didn't do this kind of stuff. It actually is a tad thicker than the Spyderco Para 3. Not by much, not really. I would say it's a negligible difference. Height and length up against the PM2 and Para 3. So you can see here, this is not going to be a super cumbersome object to carry. It's not that much longer than the Para 3. The ratios here, blade to handle ratio on this guy are pretty darn good, which is why it folds up to such a compact size. It's very preferable, absolutely. I've got a buddy who carries one of these. In fact, the one that I owned, I actually ended up giving to him, and he absolutely loves it. This is definitely an easy knife to carry. We are looking at G10. Now, you guys probably noticed, why does one look like that and one isn't? So I'm gonna guess that, you know, this one obviously has been used, right? So we've got hand oils and dirt and things like that. This is the natural color of G10. I'm going to guess there's some variance, right? Because I have a PM2 that is yet a third variance of color. We have, like, you know, 3 different colors of booger here, basically. I'm going to guess natural G10 kind of varies in color a little bit. And then it also will likely start to get a little more sickly looking as you continue to use it. This sort of cool, this is the color that I like, right? This is, when I see this on a retailer site, this is what attracts me. And I'm somebody who likes jade, right? A lot of people hate it. I mean, it is what it is. That's kind of Blade HQ's thing. But I'm going to guess that the reason that this one is a different color, it's a combination of use and just an example of variance in G10. So if you're going to pick this up, just be aware. Yours might not look exactly like either of these, right? That's just my guess. Let's go ahead and do a, well, we'll take a look at the inside here real quick. I think you guys can see it does have some milling on the inside, right? Steel, G10, steel for the liners, and then of course G10. And then we have a blade stock thickness of, let's check it. I'm going to guess 125 thousandths. That Oh yeah, okay, 115 to 120 thousandths is most likely what it's reading. First, I started to read that as 150 thousandths, and I was like, no, that's not right. Weight on this guy, totally reasonable, 3.5 ounces. So for those of you who go by the whole ounce and inch rule on blade length, then there you go. Great ratios. This might be illegal for some people to carry, so just make sure you check your local laws. Hardware check. Just to go ahead and do that, you can get my tools down in the description. They are very inexpensive and very recommendable. I'm going to guess it is the typical combination of T8 pivot and T6 body screws. I have actually taken apart one of these before, and it was not difficult at all. T8 for the pivot, and then definitely T6 for the body screws. The combination of these two colors is really throwing my camera. Yeah, not a lot of hardware. Nothing too crazy or difficult here. This is going to be pretty easy to take apart. So, spoiler alert, the Kizer Begleiter is a great knife. You might be wondering, what's it running on, right? We're actually running on a combination of phosphor bronze and nylon, which, I mean, okay. I wish it was all, you can see, can we see in there? We've got a combination of the two. It'll work. 99.9% of the time, nobody's going to have any issue with those nylon washers. If you ever have to take the thing apart, I mean, here's an example of one that's clearly been used. It's doing just fine. This one is noticeably smoother. So they do definitely get, and the brand new one feels great too, but it's the same kind of deal in here. Whether it's phosphor bronze or it's just nylon, or it's, in this case, a combination of both, those systems do a great job of keeping dirt and debris out of the pivot. So this thing has, you know, it's got some dust, it's got some stuff kind of building up in places, but it's not in there where it counts. And this thing, this one in particular, is very smooth. Really, really nice. So it'll do that. I think you know, truthfully, the biggest issue with nylon washers, right, where people are going to run into trouble is if and when they take their knives apart and they're not careful with the washers, you know, when they're putting them back together, right? They bend, or you get caught on something, right? And then maybe you tear it, and then you've got kind of an issue. During use, I don't think you have to worry about that at all, even though the one time I did have one washer tear was actually during, I did actually have a big nasty piece of debris get wedged in my cold steel tough light between the blade and the scale, and it did end up catching an area. Now, the knife still works. That same washer is still in there. In fact, it's just, I'm not going to walk over there and get it. It still works. It's just one of the washers has a tear in it, and I just can't be bothered with it because it's a $25 knife, right? Now, these are more expensive, but they're sporting M390. As far as I understand, Kizer does a great job with their heat treat. If you don't know what M390 is, M390 has been, you know, by a lot of people's standards, the top dog for knife steel, you know, in an EDC knife. And M390 is acceptable, like, I mean, Shirogorov will use M390 on a $1,000 knife, and it's completely and totally acceptable. Again, we really shouldn't be judging the value of the item based on the materials used, rather the form that it takes and how much work went into creating that form at the end of the day, right? But everybody's value system is different. In any case, getting a performance steel like M390 on a knife that costs $100 in a design that is very, very good is pretty cool. These are very recommendable. I don't really have much that I don't like about the Begleiter. I mean, the cutting geometry is great. It's fully flat ground. The end result at the edge, right? It's not a laser beam. It's not an Opinel, but it is very thin, and it will slice. It'll perform. Tip, nice and pointy. I mean, this is a straightforward blade. The other nice thing is that the thumb stud is really not in the cutting path. I mean, you can kind of, you have that, it's almost like a guide, like you're cutting straight down, but it's almost like an angle. For the most part, unless you're cutting right there up against the, you know, the sharpening choil, you're not going to run into the stud. The stud is also placed extremely well because of this nice area that's been cut out right here. You can definitely get your finger underneath there. This is, again, the brand new one that has not been broken in as much as this guy, and you can reverse flick it, you can thumb flick it, right? These G10 scales are textured, and it's in a way where I can feel it, and it's normally, I mean, if it was sharper, I might call it aggressive, but it's really not. It's just like they're just bigger divots, and they do a great job of, you know, catching your hands and creating some additional traction alongside The ergonomic lines, which are really great. I mean, this is a comfortable knife. We're looking at nice chamfering on the scales, right? The other nice thing that the other thing that I like here is that the scales, you can see there, you can see the liner poking up here and here. They're shadow boxed, so I don't know, especially on this version, I think it looks really nice. I like that. I don't necessarily need the scales to be contoured, or I don't need the liners to be nested. It's cool when it is, but when they're not nested, it's nice when they shadow box it because it looks good. But if they're going to do that, they have to make sure these little lips right here are knocked way down, and they are. They're absolutely knocked down. Ergonomics, like I said, very, very comfortable. Not sure why they didn't put jimping up here, but they didn't really need to. The pocket clip is good. It's not anything crazy. I wish they would have nested it into the G10 because this looks... This was a popular model a couple of years back, right? And, you know, I think if this was being made, like if somebody did an upgraded Begleiter, they probably would nest that that pocket clip. But it doesn't move. The pocket clip's not like wiggling or anything like that. I'm not sure why they didn't... Oh, wait. Yes, they did. Sorry. They did drill... Is that right? No, they didn't. What is this? Instead of sitting here and just being like, I'm confused, I'm actually going to take the pocket clip off of the user here, and we're going to, just to keep my mind at ease, we're going to see if there's any way that can fit on the other side. Now, I do have the box for one of these over to my right, and I don't remember there being any parts or anything like that in the box, but, oh well, this will be educational for me and for you guys. Why not, right? Yeah, so, I mean, you can see here, if we try to, the pocket clip's not going to work. It's not angled correctly to fit on that side. That doesn't make any sense. Wait. Yes, it does. Oh my gosh. Okay, so it can be mounted. That's why. Okay, that makes sense now. That's why my brain was so confused. I was like, the angle's not right. But the pocket clip is not a symmetrical clip. The pocket clip is angled specifically. Well, I mean, like, it's going to be fitted for right-handed carry initially, but because the pocket clip is shaped this way, right, they angled the screws on the other side so that the pocket clip would work for left-handed people. So... yeah, ladies and gentlemen, that was yet another example of me just being stupid and not really understanding what the heck I was looking at. I'm kind of glad that I went ahead and did that, because now I know, and everybody else watching my content knows. Well, there was probably a better way to do that, like knowing in advance before I did the video. But, hey, you know, that was maybe some people appreciate the journey that I went down for that. So there you go. It is, for lefties, it is something that you can carry and enjoy. Okay, anyways, let's go ahead and keep talking here. I do like the fact that they went ahead and did the liners and everything black. I think it looks great. We've got some black standoffs back here. That's excellent. This guy is, of course, perfectly centered. The brand new one. Lockup, no blade play up, down, left, or right. We are locking up at very early, something like maybe 20%. And yeah, it feels great. On the one that's been used, I would imagine a quick turn of the pivot will bring this guy back center, but it's definitely off from use. Lockout, yeah. In fact, I'm going to go ahead and do that for him since I've got the tools out right here. Let's just take a look. Now, centering has a lot to do with, you know, the tightness of all of the parts. This also may have been adjusted for action. So, let's see here. We brought it much closer to center, and the action is still, whoops, sorry about that. The action is still very, very good. But I would imagine he might have had that loosened up for action or something like that. But yeah, feels great. Blade play now. No blade play up, down, left, or right. How are we locking up on this guy? It is still locking up in exactly the same position. So there you go. Oh, this was an interesting video. But anyways, yeah, these are both great. I'm just putting my tools back away. A lot of people might wonder, like, why do you put this stuff in it? Why? I mean, like, it's so, the transition, you know, is kind of sloppy and slow. I don't know. Sometimes I like to just let people watch, like, how this stuff unfolds naturally rather than going back and editing out teeny tiny little segments to make it super smooth. The videos my videos are really long, right? I mean, if you're here watching this part, it's likely that you don't care too much about me editing out every last little, you know, this or that or whatever. I think this is a home run. Kizer's been doing a lot of stuff here recently that I'm like, oh, kind of, it's kind of neat. And then there's other things I'm like, no, not interested at all. The Begleiter, the design is completely and totally unchanged since the original. The only difference is black blade. We have a few variances of G10 and of course M390. Is it worth spending $100 to pick this thing up? 100%. I'm hoping, at the time that I'm recording this, right, you guys will, it's by the time you guys are seeing this, I will have recorded this 2 weeks back from when you're seeing it, is what I'm saying, right? So I'm hoping here in the next 2 weeks, this will still be available because it definitely is in my time, and I can absolutely recommend it. These are they're kind of just no-brainers, right? I'm not saying like if you don't buy it, there's something wrong with you. No. But if you're looking at this and wondering, is it high quality? Is it worth it? Is it going to be a good cutting tool? Is it easy to carry? Am I going to like it? Yeah, this is great. There's really, not a lot of complaints here. I wish that the pocket clip was nested, and I wish that the internals did not have nylon at all, but that might slow the action down a little bit. I mean, definitely the nylon is responsible for some of that smoothness. So I also wish that all of the jade looked like this, but again, this guy probably has a different color, partially because it's been used. Other than that, though, this is a great design. Yeah, I think that's pretty much all I can say, guys. These will be listed right down below, along with Kizer knives in general, so you can check out what else they've got going on. But these are great. I don't know if they'll be around forever, but they're available right now. That's going to be pretty much it. Please make sure to follow me on Instagram at metal_complex. If you enjoyed this video, please leave a like. If you'd like to check out my other content, I do, of course, have lots of videos of knives that are either expensive or inexpensive that I do or don't like, so check those out. And if you enjoy all my content, go ahead and click on that Metal Complex logo right there and subscribe because there's definitely more coming. Thanks again for watching, everybody, and have a great day.